Baldwin, thank you so much for coming on Modcast today. How does it feel to be here? Oh, no, your mic's on. Oh, okay.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jesse Feller-Kopman. I'm a senior studying political science and theology, and I'm unmasking on the Modcast.
Hi, it's Molly. Welcome to my mod. This is Modcast, the show where I highlight current and past eags who make waves on and off the heights. Come on in.
Jesse, before we get into your alter ego, Eagle, can you give us a quick rundown of your involvements at BC?
Absolutely. So primarily, I'm a co-captain and member of Boston College's Baldwin the Eagle mascot team. Outside of that, I'm also a drummer and on the executive board of BC Bop Jazz Ensemble. I serve as a co-chair of the elections committee, which oversees the elections for the undergraduate government at Boston College. And that's it.
Okay, awesome. So you mentioned you play the drums. Has this been like a lifelong passion? When did you start playing?
I started playing the drums in fourth grade, taking private lessons and playing at school as well. I played piano for 3 years before that, but really, really hated it.
I feel like everyone needs to get to that point. Just start it and give it
and
up.
In retrospect, I'm really glad that I did. It's helped me in ways that I can't fathom musically, but I guess I've just always had a sense of rhythm. My parents tell me my mom would lay out the pots and pans in the kitchen when I was a baby. I'd be banging on those. I probably first touched a drum set when I was 2 and really just fell in love. It's been something that I've been doing ever since and have really loved doing in college as well.
You were in marching band for a bit, right?
I was in marching band for the first 2 years, so that was my introduction to BC. Showed up in August of 2021 before everybody else was here, before Week of Welcome, and played the drums for 8 days straight, 12 hours a day.
Oh my God.
And loved it. And then that segued into BC Bop a few weeks later. I've been doing that for the past 4 years. Stopped marching band halfway through sophomore year and then picked up the mascot bit.
Awesome. So we've established that you're a percussionist, but a lot of people don't know that at hockey games, after BC scores, there's always a student in the student section with a cowbell that leads everyone in chants. How did you find yourself in that role, and what do you like about it?
So I had a very good friend, still have actually, Josh Doherty, who graduated 2 years ago, and he was the cowbell guy before me. I think the tradition started from the pep band, which he was a part of, and we'd sit front row on the glass at the hockey games, and he just let it rip. He taught me the chant. He taught the whole student section the chant. Then when he graduated, he gave it to me. I started doing it at hockey games. Of course, schedule gets busier. Wasn't able to make every hockey game this year. Good friend Chris Ite picked it up, and just a bunch of students have bounced around back and forth. I'll take over at Bean Pots, but it's a really fun experience.
Nice. Okay, so now let's actually talk about Baldwin. What made you want to be the mascot? Was it through marching band? When did you start doing that?
I think part of it was through marching band. That really instilled a sense of school spirit in me and wanting to be involved in game days. Once I stopped that, I still wanted that way to be involved, but marching band's a huge time commitment. I mean, these guys practice for 10 hours plus a week, and game days start at 4 or 5 a.m. for them. So I wanted to do something where I could balance being with my friends, going to the tailgates, going into the stands, being a student and a fan, but also still have that opportunity to get involved in game day. I was a mascot in high school as well.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I don't know if that led me here or it was a coincidence, but that reminded me that it was something that I really enjoyed doing. I auditioned or tried out for the team, made it, and that's how I got there.
You keep saying team, and I didn't realize it's a whole team of people. How many people is it?
I don't know if I could say exactly. Maybe more than 10, less than 20.
Okay.
But there are a good amount of us. And we have skating mascots and we have land mascots. I can't skate, so I only do football, basketball, women's lacrosse, and the stands for hockey games. But we have a whole set of team members who are fantastic hockey skaters, and they do the beginnings of the hockey games too.
I can't even imagine that with how's the vision, first of all?
Vision's terrible. I've never tried it. I've tried skating a few times and with the head on once or twice, but it's not like if you're a mediocre skater, it's not something that you could do. You really got to be a trained hockey skater, can skate backwards and all that. You're in a suit, you're in a heavy suit with the head, low visibility, carrying a flag, waving it around, and you have D1 hockey players and referees whizzing by you during warm-ups. It's pretty wild, I've heard.
I didn't even think about the flag. How heavy is it?
Flag's not bad, but I guess you get some drag when you're skating around on the ice, so you really got to push through. We compare doing the beginning of the game through the national anthem till they get off the ice to one period of hockey. It's just really intense.
Oh, geez. I want to circle back to the auditions.
Sure.
Are you allowed to share what that like structure looks like?
Totally. We have some seniors graduating this year too. So we're looking for some new mascots,
There we go.
especially if we have some skaters out there. We would love to have you on the team. It's pretty informal, the tryouts. The main thing we're looking for is just your energy. If you can dance for several minutes at a time with the head on, that's probably the hardest part of being the mascot, is just a consistent drive of energy. And we also do some scenarios like how you would interact with a fan if they're doing this.
How many people normally try out together? Is it like a giant group of people just like having a dance party? Like that's kind of how I'm imagining it right now.
It's definitely varied by year. I think we had six or seven try out this past year, and that's kind of what it was like. We would put on all the classics, Mr. Brightside, Dirty Water, Shipping Up to Boston, and just have them dance for several minutes at a time, and then yeah.
So clearly mascots embody school spirit. What does BC's school spirit specifically look like to you?
I think that we have a really exceptional group of students here on campus. In my opinion, BC is unique in the fact that not only are people here to go to sports games, have a good time, have fun at social events, but they're also really academically driven, and they're here to go to school too.
Yeah.
That said, I think that the student body is really one that can show up and show out. I mean, I've done BC versus Duke basketball games. I've done BC versus BU hockey games, and they're just some of the best sporting environments I've ever been. It's really magical.
Do you find that during like the rowdier games, like fans are interacting with you more?
Definitely. I mean, not only is it true that we have more fans, but also just everybody's energy is up. And that's one thing that our job is to do. We want to take that energy and just keep the momentum going. So if it's at a basketball game, we want to keep that energy up during free throws, distract the other team. If it's at a hockey game, just making sure that the fans are loud constantly, that they're excited for the t-shirt toss or hot dog toss or dance competitions. And those games are just exceptional.
So now I want to ask you, what's something that the regular public doesn't know about being Baldwin?
It's a workout. I mean, technically we're student athletes. I don't know if we would classify ourselves as that.
Because you guys get all the gear, right?
We get all the gear, get to travel with the teams. We get access to like the student athlete lounge and all that. I mean, certainly we're not on the same schedule as these other student athletes. Like these guys are remarkable, getting up at 6 a.m., practicing all day, going to classes, lifting in the afternoon. That's not what we do, but it's an intense workout nonetheless. I would compare it to like doing Zumba in a sauna for 2.5 hours.
Oh, so I couldn't do it, is what you're saying.
I mean, we want everybody to try, but we've also had D1 athletes from like the women's lacrosse team, the women's hockey team, do half a football game in August, and we've had some people pass out in suit.
Oh,
It's no joke. It's a big workout. My Apple Watch tells me like after a basketball game, I've lost like 2,500 calories. So you got to hydrate. You got to stay relatively active, and just make sure you're taking care of yourself while you're in the suit too.
Yeah. So I'm imagining hearing all that your game day looks a lot different than my game day.
Definitely.
So do you want to break down for me what your like Saturday morning looks like?
For sure. Definitely depends on the sport. One thing I will say is that for a football game especially, we can't have one mascot do that whole thing. I mean, from having Baldwin at the tailgate to the first half all the way through the second half, sometimes it goes into overtime too. We want to make sure that a mascot's at all of those, and it would be a superhuman feat to do all of that. So if I'm working tailgate, I'll get up 2 hours before the tailgate starts, before Eagle Walk. I think the biggest thing is just stretching, getting in suit, making sure you know where you need to be and when. We'll also be communicating with the athletic comms department and marketing, seeing if there are any specific tailgates for alumni or donors that we want to go to, or any super fans that are really excited to see Baldwin. And then once Eagle Walk starts, you're leading the cheer team, the pom team, the marching band, and the football team from Gasson from the bottom of the stairs to the football stadium. So just making sure you're there for that.
Okay. And you said that you're the co-captain of the team too.
Right.
So like when you're thinking about the game day, like are you coordinating which Baldwins are going when?
Definitely. So it's me and Matt Malloy are the two co-captains, and we have one other who I can't share because he's a junior. But we're always talking with our coach. We're talking with the director of the Spirit program, with some higher ups in athletics, talking about what games we really need Baldwins at, how many that might be. We would always like to have a handler with Baldwin, so that's somebody who is there to do the talking when Baldwin can, if there's a sticky situation. And then also just making sure that we have the layout of the game. So take a basketball game, for example. So Baldwin needs to be out there on the court for the anthem, for player introductions. They'll play Shipping Up to Boston right before the tip-off. You could roam a little bit more just because it's a smaller setting than a football stadium, but then making sure you're back on the court for t-shirt toss or hot dog toss or a special alumni introduction or something like that.
So with the handler idea, like do you always have a handler, or is it like sometimes you're just going solo?
Definitely depends. Football, we always have a handler just because that's 44,000 people in a stadium. You got to have one there. I don't think Baldwin would ever get somewhere if they didn't. Handler is a tough job too. You got to, not only are you in charge of like making sure that Baldwin's okay, like we have some signs, like if Baldwin needs a break, we'll go like that, or water is easy to figure out. But you also got to cut through crowds of people and tell people, so sorry, Baldwin doesn't have time to take a photo. We got to get him to this box, which people don't love to hear.
I was going to say kids. I can't imagine telling a kid that.
It's a tough thing to balance. We'll try and do as many as we can, and then got to have your eye on the clock. So don't always have a handler, especially for basketball games. I really love basketball games too, because you could really engage with the students. You're in the student section. You could also go down to the court for a little bit. You get to roam around the concourse and take a lot of photos. So basketball, you get the best of both worlds.
That seems like it. And I saw at one of the basketball games recently, Baldwin had like a Baldwin cam almost. Like he had this like camera with him and was like showing it into the students, and it was live feeding it to the Jumbotron.
That's so fun.
That was like the most genius thing I've ever seen. They got to break it out more.
We love working with our camera team and with the athletics socials team too. I mean, they get great footage of Baldwin interacting with our fans, and stuff like that's just always a blast.
It's awesome. What's that atmosphere like as a student in alumni versus on the field?
Alumni is a unique beast. I mean, any student who's been in the stands knows, like, you're packed in like a sardine. That's why we never bring Baldwin up to the stands unless there's like an advertisement or a commercial break. Like,
Gotcha.
That's the handler's job to make sure they get there, they cut through all the students, and I mean, everybody loves Baldwin.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to take a photo. Everybody wants to give him a hug or a kiss. So you got to make sure that Baldwin gets from point A to point B as quickly as possible. In the stands, I mean, there's also less pressure to know what's going on in the game. I mean, you'll hear people around you cheering, then you'll start cheering, then you'll be like, oh, shoot, we scored a touchdown. Baldwin's on top of it. You get like a little window of vision, but you're tracking the ball, you're looking at the scoreboard. If we score, you make sure you're behind the cheer team with the flags, also making sure you know where the players are, because we've had a few instances when a player's caught a touchdown ball, didn't see Baldwin, and
oh my God.
we've had some accidents, but I mean, the good thing is the suit's padded.
Yeah, because you're saying like you need to be like that with time. I didn't even think about, like, it's not like you can check your Apple Watch. Like, You're just like looking through the mesh at the scoreboard. Yeah,
double mesh. You get used to it, I'd say. At first, the vision's it's kind of tough to see out of, but then you'll be able to figure it out.
So we've established that the vision's really hard, but is there anything else that's hard about being Baldwin?
The biggest thing is to balance where you need to be, what you need to be doing with what somebody wants you to do.
Okay.
I mean, like, pretty simple examples, like a hot dog toss. Everybody wants a hot dog. You have a kid in the front row who really wants one. And then you have your roommates way back in the 8th row who you said you'd hook them up with a hot dog. Yeah. So making those decisions, hopefully you have two so you could share the love. But it's really a question of being where you need to be when, and also making sure you're on time, not just for athletic events. I mean, we do stuff for CAB, for SAP, for UGBC. So if I'm walking from Conti, where our locker room is, to Devlin to do an admissions event, I'm seeing probably 10 people on the way. So you got to factor that in and make sure you have enough time for all that.
Is there more than one suit at once?
Yeah.
So you're not passing a suit between the quarters of the game. Like, you can have one Baldwin ready in and out.
I guess it depends on how many suits we have and how many clean ones we have too.
Oh, I didn't.
I've definitely gotten some comments before about Baldwin's scent. I mean, we want to make sure that all of our different mascots aren't getting in somebody else's suit, because that's nasty. But there have been times that we've had to do that. And we also do have a lot of suits because sometimes Baldwin needs to be
two places at once. Yeah.
Exactly. So last year I was doing the hockey game, and Matt Malloy was in Syracuse, and we had some people watching on TV at the hockey game saying, like, oh my God, Baldwin's in Syracuse, New York.
I didn't even think about that.
How is he also in Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts? On spring day for athletics, we'll have Baldwin at the baseball and softball games, and I was working the women's lacrosse game, same thing. So I guess Secret gets a little cheated there. Mm-hmm. We have different Baldwins, we have different suits, but it's all out of the interest of being at as many places as we can.
I actually want to talk about outfits,
sure.
just in the thing of all the dresses.
Please.
Like, I want to know more about Baldwin's wardrobe, because I saw him step out in like a suit one time, and I didn't know he could clean up like that.
Baldwin has an extensive wardrobe. I've rocked Baldwin's tux at Pops on the Heights. Nice. If we're doing weddings too. We always love doing weddings.
I didn't even realize people could hire Baldwin.
Oh yeah. We rock the tux for those two events, and maybe some others if we have some other nice events going on. Basketball's definitely got the best fits, I think, in my opinion. Like, we have maroon, white, yellow. The city uniforms are fun to rock. Football, we have our classic maroon football jersey and the red bandana uniform, of course.
Nice. That's my favorite.
Red bandana Baldwin's always a ton of fun. I did the ACC game day event. We sewed on a little red bandana onto the Baldwin head.
I love that. Was there a Marathon Monday one too?
Yeah, we had Jason Derulo on campus
that's what I'm
2
thinking.
years ago, and like that styrofoam cup design.
Yeah.
I don't know where this came from.
It's like the Dixie cup with the
Exactly.
purple and the blue.
Exactly. We have like shorts and a tank of that design, so we got to rock that on stage with Jason Derulo. We have like a pirate Baldwin head, which we'll bust out around Halloween maybe. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff in our closet that I just don't know where it came from.
I'd imagine with this big like hidden secret among you and the whole team of Baldwins that you guys get pretty close. Have you noticed over the years like any like commonalities between the types of people that become Baldwin?
I think the first thing is that we're just all people who love BC, who love getting involved with game day, who love athletics, and want to be there to show up for the fans, whether they're students, also be there for the athletes too. There's definitely a pipeline of people who like acting and find Baldwin as a good outlet for that. I won't say much more about that, but we've had people who are very, very involved in the arts on campus, theater and otherwise, who have come to the Baldwin program, and it's a really good blend between athletics and arts. I think it's one of the unique ways on campus that relationship occurs.
Yeah, I didn't even think it, but Baldwin is kind of like a character.
Totally. When I'm in suit, I'm Baldwin. I'm not Jesse.
Yeah. Is there any like moment where you've like broken character, like talked or like fell, something like that?
I've had a few friends who knew it was me in suit say Jesse, and like I flinch and then turn away. I mean, there have been some funny moments too that you just can't help but laugh. And then also, if the stadium environment's really exciting, I mean, you want to scream like "Go Eagles," and you got to catch yourself.
In that same vein, I was thinking about this during the last football game this year because it's like our senior year, and I was getting very emotional during Mr. Brightside. I was sitting there asking myself, is Baldwin crying too? Because I was like, the rows of people, like there was a bunch of tears.
Yeah.
Have you ever cried in suit?
I mean, that Thanksgiving game was very, very emotional. It was a sad one for sure. Mr. Brightside always gets to me. The red bandana game is also just are so meaningful. More literally too, I've stubbed my toe or gotten injured otherwise that have been very painful. And of course, Baldwin's always smiling, but maybe a few tears have been shed on the inside.
Baldwin's smiling, but I want to know, when you're like taking pictures with families and kids, like, are you smiling on the inside? Because I feel like if I would just make a straight face to be funny about it.
I will sometimes, and then I'll catch myself and be like, Jesse, you do not need to smile right now. And I'll tell myself to stop. But also, if it's a great day and kids are having a good time, I mean, you can't help but smile.
Yeah.
No reason not to at a BC sports game.
Have there been any like funny or weird stories that happened to you while you were Baldwining?
More than a few, more than we have time for today. But I guess one that jumps out to mind is I was doing a pen pals picnic. I was playing Duck Duck Goose with the women's volleyball team and their pen pals. I got goosed, so I started chasing around the kid who goosed me. And this one kid, I guess, stuck out their leg, and I didn't see him. You can't see below, like, yay high on the suit. And I just ate it. Luckily, we have, like, a little chin strap that keeps the head on exactly for those reasons. That was painful. But you can't even say anything. And, like, I felt bad because I tripped over this kid, but she was okay. I was okay, so it was all good.
I didn't even think about that. Like, I would have said, like, ow, full volume.
I wanted to, for sure.
You're well-trained, I guess. So you can't talk, you can't make any noises. I want to give you scenarios, and then you show us how you'd react as Baldwin. Okay, first one, stubbing your toe.
Oh, you gotta, like, hug the knee. I don't know, maybe hit, like, the crying. Like, the eyes are up here, so you gotta really sell it.
Okay, when you hear a really good song.
Oh, you gotta get hype. I was like, flapping the wings is good. Maybe hitting like the I can't hear you. Give me a little more from the crowd.
What about an interaction with a fan on the opposing team?
Those are my favorite. There have been some good ones. I went to Georgia Tech my junior year. Great football game. The cheer team and I were right in front of our fan base, like the players' families and local Atlanta BC heads who came out to support the team. So we got like a pick six, which was awesome, and the momentum of the game completely flipped. And so I went from celebrating with them, and then I walked over to the Georgia Tech student section and was giving them some stuff. I was giving them like, I can't hear you, you're being too quiet. That was a great interaction.
What about when you interact with little kids?
Little kids can go one of two directions. That we have a lot of alumni who really want their kids' photos taken with Baldwin. And the kid's really into it. Like, they have a little stuffed animal, and they'll show you the stuffed animal. And you're like, oh, my God, that's me. And they eat it up. You have a lot of little kids, too, who don't get the whole mascot thing. and are really, really freaked out.
Yeah.
So I mean, you try and get on their level. That's the first thing that we teach new mascots is that like if a kid's not into it, like get on a knee, because also you're double, triple their size.
Baldwin's huge.
Baldwin's huge. I mean, it adds a couple inches to my height as well.
Yeah.
So like just get on their level. Try and be as nice as you can, but also if the kid's not into it, don't push it.
Okay, last one, Mr. Brightside.
Like Mr. Brightside might be the hardest thing we do because that's just 3-4 minutes of constant dancing, jumping up and down. I mean, it is a workout. It's like I go back to the sauna analogy. It's like doing jumping jacks in a sauna for 5 minutes straight. Like get your heart rate up.
So is there anything that you want anyone watching this and just like the general public to know about how to behave with Baldwin?
I mean, we're in a unique position because part of the magic is that people forget that Baldwin is a human. Well, Baldwin's not a human. Baldwin's an eagle, of course. But
Yes.
we have humans inside that are working the machine. So maybe don't do anything that you wouldn't feel comfortable doing to a human.
Yes, it's a great rule of thumb.
It's a great rule of thumb. I've gotten very close with some fans, more close than I would like to be. Taking our head off, like why would you do that to a human being? Don't do that to Baldwin. Ruins it for the kids too.
I think I've seen a little kid like pull on Baldwin's tail.
Yeah, that could be cute sometimes, and I mean little kids are an exception, but
Yeah.
college students and especially adults, like remember that we're human beings too, and don't do anything that you wouldn't want to do elsewhere.
Let's keep our hands to ourselves.
Exactly.
Okay, so to wrap up, we just have to acknowledge that you're likely not going to find yourself in a giant bird suit for the rest of your life, but I want to
True.
know how you're going to take this experience with you.
One thing I will say, we've had Baldwins go pro.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are you considering going pro?
I don't know. I don't know if it'll fit into my work schedule. We had one Baldwin a couple years ago who's now working with Blades, the Bruins. I think a couple other have helped out with Wally at the Red Sox. One great story real quick. I did a news event for out in Natick right before junior year. And I forget the situation, but I show up to this town hall and I go, "Hi, I'm the mascot from BC. Oh, yeah, come with me. You're in the back room." I was born in Boston. I lived here from 0 to 4, Red Sox fan, Bruins fan. And I show up and Wally and Blades are sitting in this room, heads off, drinking a box of Joe from Dunkin' with Munchkins. And they're asking me if I want some. I felt I was very, very special.
Oh my God, that's like you made it moment.
I know. I used to have a hat with Wally on it as a kid. It was really full circle. I don't think I'll be able to go pro. I mean, I know the pro mascots also have a much more rigorous schedule than in college. But I think one thing that being Baldwin has shown me is an extreme sense of service. I mean, doing the work, not necessarily taking the credit, and being a part of an experience that's much, much bigger than yourselves. It's really an honor to be able to represent BC, both at BC, across the United States at different college campuses. There's no better feeling than making a kid smile, than bringing school spirit to seniors or underclassmen who are starting to figure out what BC means, hyping up the student athletes as well. All around, it's incredibly rewarding, and it's all about service.
That's a really nice perspective on it. I didn't think about that like before. I really like that. I have some rapid fire questions for you.
Give them to me.
Okay. Favorite song to drum?
That cat is high.
Favorite spot on campus?
The Nest in Conti.
One thing you can't live without?
Drumsticks.
Favorite BC dining meal?
Eagles Bowl.
Best BC tradition?
Red bandana game.
Best dorm?
Madeiras.
If BC Bob could have any artist join them on stage, who do you want to join?
Jean Baptiste.
Hype up song?
Dirty Water, before and after the games.
Most used emoji?
The Eagle.
If you could switch lives with anyone on campus for the day, who are you switching with?
Geraldo from the Eagle's Nest.
Nice. One word to describe your BC experience.
Spirited.
That's a really good one. Okay, well, thank you so much for not only coming on the podcast today, but for just being one of those BC students that brings a spirit, obviously. Even if you're undercover, we definitely need people with your level of dedication to make the Heights as bright and fun as it is. So thank you so much for coming on,
Thank you,
Jesse.
Molly.
Of course.